was doing a video on this topic a little bit yesterday, and I just got out from a workout. I just finished a workout, and the topic was still on my mind. I said to myself, "There's a little bit more I might want to say. I might want to say on that topic." But I find it interesting when people, not even interesting. I find it funny when people will out of their way to put a lot of go out of their way to financially extend themselves and not have a real reason as to why they're doing it outside of just internal pleasure, or I want this to impress somebody who doesn't even know who the hell I am, or even if they know who I am, they could care less really, but it's more so to inflate your own ego and that kind of stuff. And I always found it funny because when I look through some of these reaction videos, or just people getting clowned on, or even to some extent sometimes people who are thinking that if they drive a Lambo, they're gonna sell tens of thousands, if not millions, in course money. And honestly, with the right package and the right way you're marketing yourself, you really can. At this age, you really can. I might cough a little bit because I'm still recovering from a cold, but yeah, it's honestly funny, bro. But honestly, back to the base topic, because I think it's a little bit different when it comes to overextending yourself, or not even overextending yourself, but making a much bigger purchase for something when you have a plan for what it is that you're doing. And it doesn't even have to be a purchase, taking a much bigger risk. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, when it comes to being a business owner, risk is what it comes with. It comes with a package. But a lot of people will take those same risks and they'll be regular everyday people. And there's nothing wrong with being regular, but they'll be regular doing standard, you're having your standard way of living, wife or husband and kids, and you go to your job, whether it's 9 to 5 or whatever you do to make your money. And it's just that you don't really do much outside of that. So you have that, and then you say, "Hey, man, I feel like I'm gonna treat myself, or I feel like I'm gonna go make a large purchase to show off to people that don't care about me and who could really care less." But it's again going back to that ego boost, man. And I just find it funny. But yeah, I notice that when people do that, it's funny to look at. And when I see a lot of these videos, it's interesting stuff. But another thing too, when people talk about a car being, I'm going back to the car because I was talking about the Z06 yesterday, the C8 Z06, and how I plan to move into that next year and still keep this vehicle, because I want this to be like my daily. So long as like this is the Ultima, man. So long as like the transmission don't blow, or something crazy doesn't happen, then I want to keep this car. And I think from what I understand, Ultimas, they can go for a long time if you take care of the car, which I do. We always get it serviced and make sure if something comes up, take care of it just like that. I'm blessed enough to be in a position to, if there's an issue, take care of it just like that. I don't care. If there's an issue, take care of it, and I don't want to think about it. But moving into that type of vehicle next year, and that's a little bit more up there as far as pricing. That's a 6 figure car, but you'll have some people that aren't doing it for that same reason. And when we're talking about a car being an asset and something, I think in most cases, I would agree. In most cases, a car is a depreciating asset, unless it's a specific type of limited edition, or a more rare car. Or again, you're going up into you're looking more like the hyper cars like Koenigsegg's and the Bugattis, or a certain type of Lambo, or again, or Ferrari, more type of a special type of car. Then yeah, in many cases it can appreciate. But just because this item or this thing here is a depreciating asset doesn't mean you can't leverage this to not only pay your car payments, not only have the car pay for itself, but do a lot of stuff that allows you to have a much better, way of life as far as your expenses with whatever it is that you're doing. Even to an extent, you can, a lot of things really, in most cases, if you have a plan and you have some sort of idea of how you plan to use it or leverage this thing, in some cases you can take that risk and it makes sense for you in your situation, especially if you're in the entrepreneur space. But I still find it funny when how people will do stuff for the sole reason of impressing others, and in that case you're set up to fail from the beginning. Because what happens after that initial high ends? What happens after all of that's gone? You're stuck with a vehicle that you really don't care about. It was more so to impress others. You really can't even afford it. You have no plan outside of some intangible feeling of, oh yeah, I just want to impress others. And then that's it. I mean, you could even go to say, if you were getting this vehicle for you to feel happy, you can't put a price on, happiness and experiences. But to an extent, man, I find it so funny when I see people will get these vehicles or get items, Louis, the designer, and all these different things, materialistic stuff, only with the sole reason of impressing others. It's silly stuff, bro. It's silly stuff. And I think it's safe to say I was doing that a little bit too, right out of high school and then during high school. But you get to a point where, bro, what are we doing here? What are we building? What is the plan with this thing? If we're not using this for something, why are we doing it? Are we at the very least getting this because we actually enjoy it, or are we getting this to impress the other person? And that's really what it is, man. That's really what it is. I find it hilarious how some people will do that. And that's one thing, man. That's one thing. I'm looking at my notes here because I wanted to touch on one other thing, but going back to the Z06, I would say it's safe to say it's a controversial car in not only the Corvette community, and again, I wasn't even looking at Corvettes. I've said this multiple times, but looking into now, going down the rabbit hole once I got a little bit more interested in the vehicle, looking at the Corvette community, I think it's safe to say it's a controversial car. Some people like it, some people don't, and even outside of that, people will look at it because, to me and what I've seen, it's supercar performance, but with the vehicle itself being a supercar or whatever, that's always up in the air as far as people, complaining and, making arguments. For me, me da igual. I don't care. At the end of the day, I like the vehicle and I think it does a lot for me. I think it would do a lot for me. And as far as leveraging, I plan to do a lot with it. So for me, it makes sense. And for me, what I'm getting, I think it makes sense for me. And I really like it. The car really grew on me. And especially, I think that what sold me was the flat plane V8. But I could care less about how fast the car goes and, what defines this as a supercar. Well, bro, you could have just this is the common one. This is the common one, bro. And even before, because I wanted a big, big dream car, and I can much easier afford it now since, it's, it's definitely depreciated, especially when it started. But the BMW i8, super controversial car too. I don't know, I might have a thing with controversial cars, but that vehicle, going from that to a C8 because I wanted, a little bit more, life to the vehicle and not just having it look good. But going from that to that, the common thing that I would hear from some people, oh man, why don't you get an M8 or no, why don't you get an M4 or M3 or why don't you go if you got a little extra cash, go ahead and go that M8, M8 competition. So I'm saying, bro, for me, so the M3s and the M4s, and these are one of those moments where I'll say, bro, I don't consider myself a car guy because I don't even know the big differences. But the grills, if you know the grills on the front of the car, those never stuck with me. I think that is the biggest eyesore for me. And I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think I vaguely remember when those cars first came out with that design, it was getting trashed as far as the grill, the big old thing in the front. I never liked it, bro. It never grew on me. Never liked it. Corvette somehow in hell that thing grew on me, and I like it now. But that never grew on me, man. Behind the car looks beautiful, but the front I never got into that. The M8, love the car, but for what I want out of a vehicle right now, if I'm spending that level of money on a vehicle, I'm not only using this as an investment to leverage the vehicle, but when we look at the C8 and its build, it gives you, and again, like I said, I don't care. I could care less about, what people argue about and all that kind of stuff. I'm only going off the experiences of people who have actually driven the car and what they have experienced from everyday people. I could care less about, what people are saying who actually know much more about the vehicles and say, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z, and you won't get respect from this. But I could care less, bro. Because from the everyday person, people you're pulling in, whether it's you want new business from, for me, I do some of the stuff that I do is, the can't even think what I'm trying to say. Some of the stuff that I also have moved into is like e-com, so services where you do like subscriptions and you keep people motivated through content that they get weekly or consultations and that kind of stuff. And outside of digital art and music and putting that all into a cohesive way of putting that out, but driving that vehicle and how it looks, it gives you, even if you don't agree that it's up there as far as the the Lambos, the Ferraris, the the Lambos, the Ferraris, and the more higher the supercars, basically. I guess you could say Aston Martin too. It gives that look. It doesn't give that look of somewhere in the middle. I don't want to say middle class, but I guess what is a BMW considered middle class? I don't freaking know. I don't know. But I see a lot of BMWs. I see a decent amount of C8s. I think it's because where I live, because some people say, oh, I see C8s every day. For me personally, bro, I do not see C8s that often. I do not see C8s that often, much less a Z06. So that was another thing. I see BMWs every day of the damn week. And what I plan to do is actually customize the car too, not in a loud, super screaming way that this is my business and this is my business car or whatever. And the logo's all over the place and crazy. Something that looks really nice. And in a way, when you look at the vehicle, you're saying, yeah, this is a custom vehicle. This looks nice. This looks nice. A custom wrap, satin black. And, we had a logo on the side. And we have a small little quote or whatever, and possibly the Instagram handle or whatever, that kind of stuff. But it'll look nice. It'll look nice. Possibly not even the Instagram handle, but yeah, it'll look nice, man. When you can do that to a BMW, you can do that to an i8, but i8s I don't see as often. But the M3s, M4s, M8s, all of them, man, I see those things all the time. Maybe it's because I live in the suburbs. I don't know, but I see those things all the time, bro. So for me, that's what that car was also doing for me. It gives that even if you're somebody, and it's more so for car guys that I guess are on that topic, because if you ask somebody, an everyday person, they can't tell the damn difference, bro. They're gonna say, "Oh damn, is that oh damn, what is that car?" And even if they say it's even if you say it's a Corvette, it's like that looks like is that like how fast does it go or what? It looks like a supercar, goddamn. It looks like to the regular person, it looks like a supercar, right? So it gives that level of, is status a word? I don't know, bro. But it gives that level of where you'd want it to be, and it makes people even more inclined from the conversations I've had with people who have driven this, and from all that I've seen on YouTube, because I'm one of those people that will do a lot of research before I actually go and get a car. But before I even go down in that direction, that's what it gives for me. That's what it gives for me. Not to say that, driving one of those other cars isn't going to give that same idea, isn't going to give that same pull or a similar pull. But from what I've seen, if you put an M8 or if you put an M4 pulling up to an area, and you put a C8 Z06 pulling up to the area, most regular people, from the conversations I've seen had on YouTube and from what I've actually talked to people in person, most people are actually going to be looking in the direction of the C8, bro, because it's looking like that next level up. Even if you don't want to say that, oh no, it's just a Chevy or all that bullshit. Honestly, bro, I don't care, because I know from that perspective, bro. It's from that conversation. It seems to be really controversial in the car community, or maybe I'm in a toxic part of the car community. I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that from what I've seen, it's pretty controversial. Some people say, yeah, it's a supercar. Some people say, no, it's not a supercar. Some people say, yeah, it can hang with the entry-level supercars or whatever. Some people say, bro, it's just a Chevy that's cheap material, trash, whatever. I could care less. At the end of the day, that is a look that you get from the car. And at the end of the day, it's still not cheap, right? At the end of the day, it's still not cheap. It's still not cheap. So if I'm investing that much into a vehicle, I'm making sure that it's going to do what I'm looking for within something that I can enforce, within something that I can, make shake. And that's really what it is. And that's really been my reasoning behind going towards that. But kind of like how I had started, people will make decisions based off of how they feel in that moment, and they'll just run and go make that decision. Sometimes you can do that, even as an entrepreneur, because a lot of times, speed, time is money. You know that. People have heard that a million times. Speed, if you can get things moving and figure it out while you're doing it. Yeah, sometimes it makes sense for that. But other times, you actually need to take a step back or take a moment to actually realize and think about, what is this actually going to do? What's the worst that can happen if this goes wrong? If this goes to shit, right? What is the worst that can happen? And for somebody who doesn't have any sort of business or any sort of a final destination as far as, just entrepreneurial journey, and using this, leveraging whatever it is that you're getting for some sort of content or whatever, what is your plan to do this? Because if it's just to impress others, 99% of the time, from what I'm seeing, it's not gonna end well. 99% of the time. So that's really what it is, man. I know for me, this thing will be a great addition. I think at one point I was saying I would want to get this vehicle, leverage it to what I can. Once we're in that Lambo money range, I sell the damn thing and then get a Lambo. But I don't know, man. I feel like now, like I was saying, I don't want to sell this car unless, it goes to shit. I feel like I'd want to keep that car now. And once you get to that, Lambo money range, you have this car and you add another to your fleet, right? You add another to your collection or whatever. But I'm kind of in the middle on that. I'm not sure how I feel, but it all comes back down to depending on what your goals are. But if your goals are just to impress people, man, in many cases, it's probably best to reevaluate that. What else do you want out of this? Because if it's just that, I don't think that's enough to justify you going out of your way to doing something, unless you can actually afford it, unless you can actually, buy this in cash, or unless you can finance, put enough down to where the monthly payments is, manageable. I think the rule of thumb is 15 to 20% of your monthly income, right? And then if you're really a car person, up to upwards of 30%. So it depends on your goals, man. It depends on your goals. For me, I know I would be leveraging the hell out of this vehicle for content, and whenever I just feel like I want to go out somewhere, and I don't mind getting looks, I don't mind people wanting to come up to me and ask about what I do and all that kind of stuff. This car is what is going to pay for itself. Those things are what is going to allow me to pay for the car itself, and that is what makes it worth it for me. Whether you want to say that's an asset or not, I don't really care, bro. I've seen the same business model where thousands and thousands of times people making upwards of crazy money, and it's working. It's working. That's the age we live in. If it works for your audience, again, that's another thing you have to think about, to your audience, and does it appeal to them? And that's really what it is, man. What do you plan to use this item for? This materialistic thing that you're putting your money towards, or whatever it is, putting your time towards. What do you plan to use it for? And that's what it would be, man. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. I feel like I'd want to keep the car now. I don't know if I'd want to sell it, because some people will be thinking about, immediately when they get a vehicle, they're thinking about what can I resell this for? How long do I want to drive this for before I resell it? I don't like to think about that, bro. If I want to get a vehicle, I'm spending a good amount of time as far as research and seeing if I really want this car for long term, or if this is something I want to sell. But I'm not really thinking about getting a car just to sell as much. But as you can see, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. This car for sure, like I said, though, I want to keep, because I don't want to be driving a damn C8 every day, or I don't want to be driving a damn sports car every day, because again, that's a different experience, right? You don't want to always be approached every day. So I think it's good to have something that's a little more calm, if anything. So yeah, man, that's really what it is, man. People be making decisions based off of their feelings, based off of how they think other people are gonna treat them, and they think that's gonna solve everything. Hell no, bro. Hell no. That's another conversation with these damn phones too. I don't even want to get into that too much, but bro, I have an iPhone 16 Pro and I have a Galaxy S9. A little bit outdated as far as Galaxy, but using both phones, bro, I don't see what it's just a silly ass conversation. And this goes back to people just doing stuff because they want to be accepted in some sort of way, shape, or form. I like iPhone for certain qualities that it has, and I also love Android phones for certain qualities that they have. And as far as where the AI goes and speeding up your work process and everything, and speeding up workflows, Android is blowing Apple out of the water. No questions asked, bro. Blowing Apple out of the water. They're in a lot of heat right now as far as them, cutting corners, or them holding back on certain features, while you got other companies constantly saying, how can we give value to the customer, in some extent, because they have some shady stuff going on too. But it's a mess, bro. Reason I have this as my main driver is because for day-to-day tasks and dealing with people, this is what is gonna put you in a better position. It's like social media. I hate social media personally, bro. I would not be on it if I didn't know that, if there wasn't a way to leverage it in some way, shape, or form. And that is the way of where we are in today. Same thing with this. People and how they view you, and their just initial way of judging, unfortunately, this is going to put you in a better position than when you're sending somebody and you get a green bubble. It just messes with your status and how they view you. So that's just the way we live in. But I'm in one of those states where, I'm in one of those places where, if you have an Android, bro, cool. If you have an iPhone, bro, cool. I don't really care. I could care less. But again, that's another thing, man. I find it very silly. That's like high school shit. That's middle school shit. that that are grown adults are judging people based off of the phone they have. What the hell are we talking about, bro? What the hell are we talking about? That's the state we live in, man. That's the state we live in. I find it hilarious. But I love that shit too, because it's such a pattern interrupt in a way where, let's say, go back to the car, right? You get the Z06, I wanted a certain color, I want X, Y, and Z and whatever. Some people might, I might have to cut that. Some people might have their preconceived thoughts of what you're going to use the vehicle for. And I love the pattern interrupt when I'm doing stuff that they didn't expect for me to be doing. Maybe it's because of the color of my skin or whatever. I don't care, bro. I don't care. Because some people would think, oh yeah, you black, so you must like Hellcat. I don't like Hellcats, bro. I don't like them. I can appreciate some of them for, what they do, but I don't like them. So I love pattern interrupts where you do something, you do an action, and people expect you to do the next thing. Excuse me. And that shit don't happen. So then they have to almost like recalibrate and rethink, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious to me, bro. Or when you start making a large amount of money, a much larger amount of money, a huge influx of money, as of recent, and some people are looking at me saying, okay, so you're about to go do X, Y, and Z, you're about to go get a new car immediately. No, hell no, bro. I'm not gonna do any of that shit. I'm actually going to reevaluate where I am and see what makes sense for the next couple of months or the next year. And then move from there. Bro, this damn thing is messing me up. But yeah, man, that's really what it is. Making a plan. And when you run enough repetitions and you get enough exposure to this stuff, it becomes a lot easier to do. This has always been my approach, man. It's always been my approach. Make a plan. And if I have to move fast, set something up real quick and move. Execute. Keep going. Execute. We got to move. And that's really what it is, man. But I'm going to wrap this up because this damn thing is another thing. The funny thing about colds, too, I'm going to wrap this up. Funny thing about colds, when we talking about repetition, you get sick enough times. I don't get sick often, but you get sick enough times to understand how this stuff goes. When it's like the flu or the common cold, you start with a sore throat, you run a little fever, your body's actively fighting this stuff off. Probably the first night is trash, at least that's what it's been for me. First night is complete trash. You're tired, your body aches or whatever. Next day, still a little tired, all that kind of stuff. And then after that, once your body's taking care of most of what it's been fighting, now it's all that leftover stuff of that mucus or whatever, and that stuff you got to cough up. And it's a mess, bro. It's a mess. But I've gotten sick enough times to where I know how this stuff goes. And this stage be the most annoying stuff, because if you don't get this stuff out of your system, that's when it can, turn into, what is it, bronchitis or other stuff. Yeah, bro. But we all over the place. But you get the point, man. Repetition. Understand what the hell it is that you want out of something, whatever it is you're doing, and keeping at the foundation that you're doing it for whatever it is that you want for yourself, not for others' validation. And if you're doing it to an extent for others' validation, you're making sure that you understand how the hell you plan to leverage that. It's not just, to impress other people. And that's it, bro.